Hello, everyone. Do you hear me? Hello? Hello, everyone. I'm trying to have the sound for all the people that are joining the workshop. I have some signs that you are able to listen to me, but I'm not able to hear you. So we were trying to solve this technical issue. Thank you so much for your patience. Thank you very much, Ghislaine. Thank you so much for confirming that you hear me. I'm trying also to hear you because the point of the session is to have a discussion and I have difficulty hearing everybody. Can you please try to see if your microphone is on mute? Maybe that's the issue, why I'm not able to hear you. Hi, Erez. So I can see you.
Hi.
Hi. So you are one of the participants that you joined this session. It seems that you are the only one who were able to do it. How did you do it? It's like, did you check your mic? How were you able to join and be visible? So the others can follow, your example.
Well, I think I just permit that you see me, and that's
Okay.
all.
Okay, so I will ask the others, so thank you very much, Erez. I will ask the others when you join the session, please allow the audio and the video so we can have a discussion. Some of you are in the waiting room, is that we are trying also to make sure that the room is not too crowded, so. Hello, Johan. Okay, so hi, thank you very much for coming to this breakout session. Thank you very much for accepting. So once again, for everybody, right now we have a group that it's 24 people that are joining the session. So I once again, please accept the video and the audio so we can see each other and we can discuss. So I will start with the people that join us and are visible at the screen. So thank you very much. First of all, I'll just have an open discussion on how did you find the discussions on the panel. So you have an international panel, and after a deep dive to the Canadian ecosystem, either the high density or the high. How did you find the discussion? So maybe one of you can, be brave enough and start. Okay, I will ask Yuan. So let's. Lucky winner. Let's rock the ball. It's informal, so
no problem. So yeah, basically I'm discovering the ecosystem here because I'm still in Switzerland. I was supposed to move here in Canada, but with COVID-19, it's been delayed for a few months, I guess. So yeah, it's nice to see everyone there that was talking about how to collaborate and what kind of initiatives you have already. what I've been missing is maybe a bit more insight, but maybe it's not available yet, on what industries or what projects can gain traction in these strange times. And yeah, overall, again, I'm just discovering the ecosystem.
So perfect. So once again, I will remind the objective of the discussion. So we are talking about the open innovation and the collaboration between the big corporates, the startup, the researcher. So speaking of the industry, if one of you have an answer about your observation, what industry maybe have more traction during those times. So maybe I will start, asking partially your question. And obviously, the healthcare, it's a track that it's very much very active in those days, but also what we can see, everything that it's linked to supporting remote working, remote collaboration, those are very, very active. Could be remote education. So for online education, this is another part that it's very very active. And now I will pass maybe higher res. I will maybe pass, to one of the other participants in this, breakup session. What do you think? So I will start not just with the young part, but what do you think that it will be interesting or interesting to collaborate and take care for the next 18 months? So we know it's like what we was discussed in the panel. It was the impact of the COVID. What we are doing now to have better practices, to better collaborate. But I think it will be interesting maybe to focus also for the open innovation, maybe what are your needs or what you are doing to better collaborate between the startups, corporation, and the researcher for the next 18 months. So it's also how we will deploy, going kind of back to normal. And I like to say that we don't go back, but we go forward, how we will adapt in a post-COVID. So, Jean-Francois has perfect.
Maybe I can pitch
Jean-Francois.
in. So, hi, I'm Jean-François Connolly. So, I work for IVADO. So, it's a French acronym that stands for the Data Valorization Institute in Montreal. And so, well, us, what we do, we're kind of like a tech transfer institute in data science, AI, operations research, the whole shebang. And so, bridging the gap between academia and industry is kind of the core of our business. And so for us, it's right now, it's kind of a mess because companies are figuring out what to do. And so for the smaller companies, well, they're phasing out of what to do, and now they're in the mode of how to do it. And whereas the big companies, well, they're still waiting for the program. Different programs are in place to help them, and so it's hard to see them. It's hard to gauge where they are exactly. And so because for us, I mean, when we try to link big companies and startups, it's always the difference in speed, in execution speed, that is the main problem. So we look at the big companies and we ask them to provide a check in the next 2 months after they receive a proposal, or this is the kind of time frame we're looking for. And so and we're trying to impose these conditions. And so it's really making sure that everybody knows each other's language.
Perfect. And when you impose the 2 months delay for a big corporation in this period, do you find that it's respected? How do you think that the big corporation react to the timeline of the 2 months?
Well, I mean, it's me and people at Bonjour Startup Montréal in Montreal. So we're working on this open innovation platform. So just basically a website where big companies can post. Because the problem that we see from big companies is how to post problems and how to see what is the offer from the startup ecosystem and from the startups themselves, and how to evaluate, so how to get some due diligence done on the startups to filter out those who can actually deliver and those who cannot. So I mean, these are the three main issues. And so this is where we try to help them, or where the different organizations, so like accelerators, incubators, can help them. And so we're building, so us with but mostly Bojo Startup Montréal, so they're building that platform. It's going to be live, I think, this week or next week. And so we're gonna get the feedback. So I don't have that answer yet.
Okay, this is amazing. Thank you very much, Jean-François, to start a discussion. Ellen, I think between Ellen, I really think I was having Francis. Sorry, Ellen. Francis, you wanted to take the
I
mic.
can just say, do you hear me well?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, so I can just give you a brief overview. So I'm the founder of Silicon Island. So the reason why I want to mention this is lately, like I spent 1 year in like leading the AI strategy at Merck Canada. It's a big corporation, and I'm a tech entrepreneur. So what I've done is I accepted an entrepreneurship mandate. So what Jean-François was saying is one way for a big corporation to move faster is to hire like entrepreneur just to be directly inside of the corporation. The thing that I was struggling the most was to make the project working with startup. We've succeeded by doing this, but the reason right now I've done like a personal investment in a company called here in Montreal, Collab Machine. It's a platform that just allow the connection between the entire ecosystem, the researcher, the freelancer, directly like the people from the company. And I think this is exactly what we need right now. I mean, we need simpler way of collaborating. And I mean, I think in Montreal, I mean, we have Collab Machine, but there's also some other solution. But I think this is really like the way of the future. Otherwise, like, I mean, the big corporations are just way too slow. They just need to have the right environment to make sure like the collaboration works between researcher, freelancer, and the business side of the bigger organization. And I think right now what we've done is we've initiated 14 projects at Merck Canada. 2 was mostly led by like startup, and right now some of the other ones are moving forward. But I think for me that's the way to go. We should kind of expand this to more organization in right now. Yeah, that's just what I was saying.
Thank you, Francis, for your intervention. Ellen?
Yes, I just want to do a publicity pitch. I'm from NSERC, the Natural Sciences and Engineering Research Council of Canada. And right now, for COVID-19, there is funding for companies to start research collaborations. It's $50,000 that's given to a researcher for a 1-year collaboration with a university researcher. And the success rate, like it's pretty open. And it's really an easy way. It's a four-week evaluation process. So it's a very easy access to funding to start new collaborations. It doesn't need to be only one company running researcher. It can be any scheme that you want. We also have it with colleges where it can go up to $75,000. That's for private companies who have at least 2 employees. That's it. The rest, startups are sorry. For colleges, you also need 2 years of operations. But for universities, it's open as soon as you have at least 2 employees. So deadline is June 1st. Go for it. It's easy, fast. It's for 1-year projects. The one Francis was talking about, we need something easy to get into it. That's an easy tool. That's it.
Thank you so much, Ellen. A very good observation. What I will ask you, we have the chat. Could you please put the link to the program in the chat so it will be easier for the people that are, joining us? So we are 33 people in our breakout session. So hopefully it will be, quite a useful link for many of us. I can see Reda Belabed. He just asked a question in the chat. So I will also share that with you. Is anything being done to open up new markets for Canadian startups on emerging markets with less mature technology needs? If anyone having, of course, it's in the context of COVID. So I will, kind of bring all the topics in the context of COVID right now and also preparing for the future. It's any of the people that are with us have an answer to Reda?
Well,
it seems that no.
Go
Yes.
look at the IRA program. So there's an IRA program for international commercialization. So this is the one I can think of, but probably there are others.
So Alejandro also, it's one of the organizers. He also joined us on this breakup session. So hello, Alejandro. So what is interesting for me, I was, part of different workshop and panels, and one discussion is also making the distinction between what you are doing in the immediate, period, the next 18 months that will have a more post-COVID period, and how you separate what you are doing for this period with the more, let's say, long-term, 2 to 3 years, how you prepare for a future that it's long-term, and also it will be, the permanent. We are all seeing customer behavior changing, and I don't think the changes are temporary. I think we talk about the digitalization, the acceleration of the digitalization, the remote working, habits. How do you think your startup and your organization is preparing for the long-term customer and employees behavior change? Who would like to take the micro? Vansa, please do.
Good job.
Perfect. Thank you, Alejandro. So going back, we'll be in touch. So going back with Vincent, it was also how your organization adapt to changes that are more profound, that are changes like, do you look to the future in the 2-3 years? We all see customers and employees' behavior change. How do you adapt for a more permanent future? Like we see right now an acceleration of future. Vansa?
I'm Vincent. I work at Quartier de l'Innovation in Montreal. I manage a project that's called LabVie, Laboratoire à ciel ouvert de la vie intelligente. And to me, the biggest challenge is to actually find real pain points, like what the citizen needs, like to connect the people with the big companies and the researchers and everything, for sure. But the main problem is to connect the innovators and the people that are actually on the field, that are working hard and that are trying to save their businesses. And that's because when you find a problem, you find clients, right? So that's what we're working hard to do. We did a project called Dino Bleu. Hélène was there. It was really a fine project that we tried for the first time to actually go and extract problems from people who were living them. And we had a lot of people from the innovation sector, which was great. But I think the best problems came from people that were restaurant owners or hairdressers, like people that are actually having trouble adjusting to the technological side of things that is becoming everywhere right now. So yeah, for me, we have to go forward and look for the problems. Videotron found one. Like they just launched a new bracelet that's called Radius, to do social distancing. Every time you come close to 2 meters from someone in your office, it's going to start buzzing. So I think it's finding the really bare bones problems that's the key here.
So what you are saying also, Vincent, is that if we want to increase the open innovation, of course, we need to start with the needs, listening to the customer. I think we heard that in the panels that preceded the discussions. So listening, but after, so it's first listening to the pains, but also how we can connect. and we can connect, to corporates. We can connect to the startup. We can connect to the researcher, and we connect with all citizens. For instance, Bonjour Startup Montreal, they also, in collaboration with Google and Desjardins, they started post-COVID. A bit like a hackathon, but it's a program that it's longer. It's on 2 weeks. So there are 3 challenges that are open for public to solve. So all citizens are, welcome to come and work. Teams will be formed, and they will have 2 weeks to work on solutions. So I will also, invite you maybe to look for Bonjour Startup Montreal with the post-COVID challenge. So coming once again, it's how we link the challenges, but also to solution, and after, of course, how we can implement. I like very much the example that you give, Vincent, with a company that is Videotron, and what is the solution that they work. Do you know, I suppose that they work with a startup to bring the solution that is called Radius?
Working with a company that's called Really Active, that's doing like captors here in Montreal with proximity captors. I think it's captors anyway. It's and also they with Pilot Things, which is a French company of IoT. So there's really, I mean, the big companies don't have often the right people or the right technology, but the thing is that Videotron already knew these businesses from working with them on the laboratoire à ciel ouvert de la vie intelligente. So they already had a program put down to find out those little startups that they might need when they had like special projects like those. So they were already around, and you need to find those big businesses that are aware and that are waiting for opportunities to innovate. And I think that we have are really precious.
Absolutely. So what we can see, and I think one of the panelists also mentioning that the companies that already have the networks of collaborations are the ones that can quickly adapt. For instance, I will just, share the experience that we have at Desjardins. We have Coopérathon. This is an Open Innovation Challenge competition. So it's been 5 years. We have partners that are corporates. We submit 10 to 15 challenges, and after, during a 6 weeks program, participants that can be all citizens, it's like with no prerequisite, they will work per teams to come with solutions. So once again, this means that we have a network of collaborators that after, if we want to collaborate further and find solution, we already have different partnerships that are in place. Do you have the other participants? Do you have other examples of collaboration between the big corporation with startups that bring them to have a quick to market solution in COVID times? No one? Maybe I will just give the word. For instance, I will just, Francois Provencher is like, can you share with us what you are doing and maybe what it's interesting? I'm trying to involve the people that are visible at my screen. I know there are more people, but sure, what you are doing, and for you, for instance, why it's important, the discussion about open innovation.
Can you guys hear me properly, actually? Okay.
I'm not able to
no,
hear.
You're not able to hear me?
Now, yes. Yes.
How about you, Nisa?
Yes.
I can hear you.
It's okay now.
How about now? You
Yes.
can hear me? Okay,
Yes.
perfect. So I'm here with Eunice Mercado,
yes,
representing the Max Bell School of Public Policy. So we're doing a project right now with the Department of Innovation, Science, and Economic Development, where I actually used to work. And we're looking at ways in which we can recommend to ICED different ways that they can better increase collaboration and innovation in Canada, and specifically between provinces. My part of the project, I'm particularly interested in patents and how they act as a barrier to early stage innovation. And in the context of COVID, I'd be interested in hearing your guys' thoughts on the implications for patents and for suppliers when they are providing services or or products to the government as part of the kind of collaborative work that they're doing, trying to organize supply chains together. We're starting to look into what it could look like using, for example, the historical example of in the United States during World War II, they had a lot of changes in the law that would enable people to use patents of other people and stuff. So yeah, maybe Jean-François can jump in, or Vincent. So maybe
I can maybe jump in. And the reason is very simple.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. So what we'll do, we'll have Francis, because he already started, and I saw Eunice raising the hand.
So I'm going to go just straight to the point. Like I'm part of a coalition called the Shield. I mean, the goal was to provide masks for the elderly and for hospital. And I mean, now we've distributed more than 100,000 masks. And the reason what we've done is, I mean, we're mostly like a group of entrepreneurs. We just call each other like to find solution, because when I'm getting through like some hospital, they don't have masks, CHSLD don't have masks. It was a disaster. We were just a group of connector. We're calling our true entrepreneur. We're just calling each other, and we went through all the thing. That what I was amazed is when I was elderly places, they were saying we need masks, and they're like, we've done the order, and then there was nothing. Us through our network, we're having masks, but we couldn't sell it to the government. So they were trying to enforce us to go through this crazy process. Even right now, we're still in process with the federal government, and nothing is happening. But still, people are trying to find a way to get. I mean, so there's a huge problem from the government side. No one takes any decision, and I mean, which means now even last week I got a call from a woman that was in charge of all the CHSLD from the west of Montreal. I mean, I thought she was going to cry on the phone because she couldn't find the supply. And us, I mean, she was calling me. I mean, who am I? I'm an AI guy, and the only reason they get through some of our network is because the government just cannot deliver anything on those things, and there's always a blocker. So I'm not against the government. I mean, I think we're just enabler. The fact that we're way connected, we know everyone, we can just simplify the process. And right now, we've helped like many hospitals, many elderly places. So I think this is where we need to simplify the process of the supply through the government. Even I've been called personally by the GRC saying, "Are you doing those masks?" And I'm like, "Yes." Are you trying to screw people? I'm like, no, I mean, I don't care about the money on the other end. So it was very weird for me to be through our network, to be in a situation where people were trying to scrutinize what we're doing. And I mean, our goal was to help. And then we're blocked by any angle. So at the beginning, we've done that kind of 3 months ago. And now it's exactly the opposite. We're getting calls from every angle, from people in the Shield like network. They just cannot like deliver, like there's just so many demands. So I think that this is also a very good example of a massive collaboration, but something has to be done to simplify like the connection with the supply part from the Quebec, because right now it's blocking from every angle. And right now, some of us.
I understand. So in our discussion, what we can see, the whole connection, if you already have a network before, this is obviously very, very helpful. And also is the whole infrastructure, let's say, of collaboration and the procurement, because maybe when, there were more, when there were times when we have more time, it was maybe working, but right now we are more in emergency times, and we realize that the process for the supply chain, the procurement, it's very, very slow compared with the needs. And as you say, it's like we are left to kind of find out solution and hack the system. So I will go now to Eunice.
Yeah.
Hi, Eunice.
Quickly. I'm Eunice Mercado. I am from Mexico right now, as Francois mentioned. I am at McGill in the Master in Public Policy, working for ISED. So working for the Mexican government in the Ministry for Science and Technology let me know that, as you mentioned, innovation ecosystems are already there, and they organically articulate, as Francis mentioned, and they have easier and faster and more efficient ways to foster innovation. And the main question we are trying to answered right now from the part of the project that I am working with is how government can effectively insert and interact within those ecosystems, not by not by bringing rules or regulations, but how can foster or accelerate those demands already in the ecosystem. So basically, it's the discussion on open innovation and on citizen science, open innovation, and citizen science, and that is the element we are trying to bring in the project so we can present to ISED. And yeah, that's the reason why I'm here. Francois and I were taking notes, and we maybe ask for some of you for a conversation following this meeting, if you don't mind.
This is very interesting because on our end, we've done a conference last week on basically how to build your dream team. And Pierre-Alexandre Fournier, the CEO of Exoskin, was mentioning that what they were looking for the government is not subsidies. They were looking for contract. Just because he was even mentioning that what they do in Silicon Valley is when they've created the government like the Silicon Valley, they were just giving contract to the company, and then the ecosystem was totally built. And right now, I think it's a huge blocker. Even I keep saying like that they want to make most of the startup work for free, and I mean this is so. If there's a way for the government just to give way more contract to all those startups, and even I know from my network that at the government level, they're considering, instead of giving money to everyone, just to give way more money to startup, because the effect on the economy is going to be way faster. They're just way faster. So I think those things are going to help what you're just mentioning. So yeah. So
and I remember like it was another panel organized by NACO, a discussion 2 weeks ago, and somebody was proposing, and it's exactly what you are saying. It was proposed that, you know, can government say 1% of the contracts, it's, you know, that they will look for startups in Canada. So it's a way to accelerate the adoption of solutions coming from Canada. So that's maybe it's not yet done, but it seems that more and more people, they look at that as being a solution. I also would like to see if somebody else have an answer for Eunice, and I see Helen raising the hand. Yes,
very
Helen.
quickly, you should talk to FRQ, sorry, the Fonds de Recherche du Québec, because Rémi Quirillon is really working hard right now on open innovation, like all over the place. So you should contact them unless you're already in contact with them, but they're really working on it with the government, the Quebec government.
Because as you already know, the main problem with government is not to find the policy, but to implement it. Because even if you decide on the contract, as you've mentioned, you have to apply as a citizen or as someone who's looking for this project. And as the government, you have bureaucratic processes. And how can you speed them up so it responds on time for the demand outside? So that's, from a policy perspective, that's the other part of the challenge.
But that's what they're doing exactly, speed it up and get the barriers out of the way.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, and also, Hélène, essentially what you were saying before, the initiative with the 50K and the contract, it's also another way to say we are putting up challenges, you know, please apply, and essentially it's a form of contract for the people who are selected. And I think in the beginning of the discussion, it was the minister that were saying about the federal government also putting in place, you know, there were 3 initiatives that he was talking about. The one, it was Innovation, the Upper Class initiative. It was also another, the Innovative Solutions Canada, essentially challenges being up and available. And it was the Strategic Innovation Fund for startups that are bringing solutions to the problems that the government are looking. So it seems that the government of Canada tried to come up with solution. I see your hand, Francis. I will try maybe to, you know, diversify a bit other people to let them also talk a bit more before coming back to you. Yuan?
Yeah, I don't know how it could be useful for Canada, but I'm working on a project where we set up maker spaces, so basically fab labs, And what we are seeing right now is that we are receiving orders from the UN or from sub organizations of the UN to set up fab labs all around Africa, actually. And this is a way of fostering innovation and cutting all middlemen. And I don't know how it can apply within Canada, how your whole organizations are set up. But basically, the idea is to give the power to innovate to those who are actually experiencing the problems, and to get closer to the problems to better solve them. Because if you go through policy, you're going to have to decide on this policy, to debate, and it's going to take ages. And maybe the crisis will be over when you get approvals. And if you go through middlemen and through approbation processes, you are it's kind of like you are steering a peacetime organization, but you will need a wartime organization. And so I understand that maybe in this setup, what you have is present matters. You have people dying. You have agencies to attend to. But in the meantime, you are stuck with old processes that take weeks or months to validate anything. So, yeah, I don't know what can be done in Canada, but that's what we do. And actually, the UN deals with us, and then we set up makerspaces, yeah, everywhere in Africa. It may be not relevant to Canada because you already have makerspaces, and maybe you have different constraints because of the different level of spread of COVID-19, but that's an idea.
What we have in Canada, thank you so much, Juan. What we have in Canada, of course, we have the maker spaces. We also have so many startups that pivot, and for instance, 3D organization, they were able to pivot very quickly to create masks. So one example that is very linked to the maker spaces. But essentially what we have also is open innovation challenges. So we have different organizations that submit challenges that are from the ecosystem, and after they are open to all citizens to come. And as I say, one example is Coopérathon. Is not, of course, the only example, but the idea is that you have hundreds of people coming. You know, we are supporting them to form teams, and after with a program that it's 6 weeks, it's a way to train them, mentorship, so they can arrive to something that is prototype. And if they are, having a solution that is quite interesting, after they can continue with an MVP and finding a client and commercialization. So I think that we can do more and better, obviously, but we have this layer of support that people who experiment the pains, they can be part of the solution too. So very good comment, Yuan. I also have a question that Ben Clinton asked a few seconds ago, how we can make those connections to the corporates. So we discuss about the collaboration between startups, researchers, and big organizations. And of course, it was never easy in the past, and it's still not easy in normal times. So even more in COVID times. So he's maybe a bit provocative when saying, are corporates mostly trying to save themselves? So I think it was, essentially how you connect, let's say, a smaller player to a bigger player in a time where it's emergency time. So maybe different organizations prioritize different things. So what is your take on that? I don't know who wants to take the micro.
Yeah, there are different, well, I'll answer both questions, but to go back to Johan, what Mirella was talking about earlier on, the Innovation Solutions Canada, if you have a new technology or a new service that you want to offer to all government offices or all government platforms, that's a way to get in, and they'll help you out with the financing and all of that. So maybe you already know about it. But as far as open innovation platforms, Nerella, there's already one called Nova Centris with the with Prima Quebec. So that's one already where they try to match. There's also Quebec Innov who does that, exactly trying to match the company's needs with the researchers. That's on that side. And as far as open innovation between companies, well, then it's normally forms that they'll their Chamber of Commerce of Montreal right now as a B2B2C platform, I think. Don't quit. I'll look it up and I'll write it up on the. But that's an open platform where companies can manage together. So there are a few. There are a lot. There used to be events. Now they're going to be probably virtual events where you're going to have that going on. That's my take.
So one thing that I can see, and it was also discussed in the panel, it was the need to show what it's available. So talking of the awareness, so if we talk about the awareness of solutions to collaborate across the different ecosystems in Canada, it seems to me that right now maybe we don't have let's say a platform where we can see all the groups and all the ways to collaborate. So maybe in order to connect, first is to have awareness. It seems to me that each of us, we are maybe aware of 3, 10, whatever, 20 ways, but it seems that none of us have the full, understanding of what are all the Slack, groups to collaborate. What are all the open innovation, challenge, competition, different ways to collaborate. So maybe that would be, in Quebec, we have the panel bleu that was to create all the solutions, and Ontario have, a way also with the government to see everything that is for COVID. I think that we also have maybe a need to have a way to see all the collaborative initiative, open innovation, so we can understand everything that is going on in Canada. And by understanding, maybe we can also see how we can maybe understand what are our capacities in Canada. So what I mean by that, understand in Canada wide who is better or who are the best players to do what, so we can play as a team in order maybe to not reciprocate so much. So how we can scale up, I think Xavier was having a very good point, how we can better, do more innovation in Canada, how we can better collaborate. How do you think, about that? Open discussion. So do you think that we are doing perfectly in Canada to innovate, or we can do more, and how we can do more? What is your take on that?
What we've seen, Mirella, we've seen that articulation is maybe the key, because we know the actors are already there, but the system, the environment for interaction, it's not organically connected. So these actors, they have different incentives. I'm thinking on governments, citizens, they are immersed in different initiatives. So I think that when we find a process, an organic process, where they can interact, this is going to happen organically. And some of it, I don't know if Francois want to talk about the marketplace, because we think that this collaboration should come from anywhere, and it should be like available, open, out there for whoever wants to insert in the conversation.
Perfect. It's somebody else. So once again, I remind to all the participants, right now we are almost 22 participants, that if you allow the video and the microphone, you can be visible for everybody and actively participate to the conversation. If you want just to listen, you are welcome, of course, but we invite you to be more active and courageous, express your points of view and needs. So coming back to Eunice's point of view, I think that, it's absolutely vital that this marketplace, we understand much more what is out there, what are the needs, so we can collaborate more. So what I take, the takeaway, let's say, for our discussion until now, it was that we need this awareness of what is out there and how we can connect. I think, as I say, individually we have fragments of knowledge, but I think that collectively we don't have the full picture, and maybe because we lack that, maybe there are opportunities of collaboration that we are missing. So I know that they are, somebody was talking about the CDMN, so this is Canadian Media Network. So there are a few organizations that are across Canada, and they try to connect. But once again, different players have different kind of agenda, different purpose. So it's not full collaboration, that they are, per sector. So they collaborate within a certain scope. So it will be maybe interesting to have something more agnostic, independent of the sector, independent of the perspective. I would like to come back to the Ben Clayton, because once again he was saying, especially in COVID, how we can connect with the big organizations. Once again, it was never easy. So for the startups that they try to partner, it was never easy. It's difficult in the beginning because it's not easy to find the entry point of the big organization. Who are the people that it's the most pertinent to speak with? Who are the people that are taking the decisions? And secondly, it's just the time lapse. A big organization can have a process that can take, up to 18 months to decide on a partnership. And for many startups, that could be extremely, extremely long and too long. So do you have comments? I see Vincent being, actively agreeing. Maybe you can take, what are your opinions?
What I was saying to Ben is that it depends on the innovation culture in these companies, and I think that, as Eunice was saying, like we need more incentive for those companies to be innovative. A lot of them already are, but maybe they are not in the right way, or it's I think big companies too need some help sometimes, and also small ones. The programs are out there and they're easy to find for the people that look for them, but I think there are maybe not, they don't have enough pressure to go and look at these programs, because it might save their business, and it might save a lot of jobs. And right now we're talking about people that will lose their jobs, and maybe that's because some businesses weren't quick enough to adapt to the environment that we are in right now, which is very digital, very connected. So yes, I think that research and startups are pushing in the right way, but we still have old businesses that are very big and that need to transition, because it will be a problem for workers in the future.
Perfect. So in conclusion, the smaller ones, they adapt quicker. They were already quite digital. So I think that what it was for them, the effort it was to adapt to work remotely, and that was done. So they were, very quick to adapt to that. And what you say, Vincent, and what you see, it's the big organization having maybe a need to help to adapt quicker. As we know, they are processes and they are all kind of culture of the organization that could, make the process faster or slow the process. But in your opinion, how we can help the big organization to, become more agile, especially in this post-COVID? So sometimes the big organization seems to be more looking inside themselves, what is their strategy, they plan, and they go in their own rhythm. And what we see right now, it's also the need, much more than before, to look outside. They were already looking, obviously, for the customer needs to adapt the products. But right now, it's a different way to look outside. It's look outside for much more collaboration. So how do you think, if we are more in the how do you think, everybody, that we can help the big corporations to look more outside themselves and collaborate with the different ecosystems players? Do you have suggestions? Yes, would you? Can you speak louder?
Yes,
Hi,
my mic, I was on mute. There are different concerns and different reasons why there are challenges between collaboration, why big organizations are finding it difficult to collaborate with small organizations and vice versa. I've done extensive research of innovation and intellectual property protection for a couple of years, and there is a connection, of course, between innovating and intellectual property protection. But the issue of ownership is a major concern between large organizations and small organizations. Who owns the work becomes an issue, and that borders around trust issues coming. So for the big organizations, you have ego, you have bureaucracy within their structure, but between them, eventually, when you issues of ego and bureaucracy, and you come to the fine line between the interaction between the big organization and the small organization, ownership of intellectual property is a major concern, and they go around it. Who does more work, who puts more effort, and who owns the property at the end of the day? And for that reason, they don't really want to collaborate, because you don't know. I mean, the small organizations are entrepreneurial, and they iterate faster. That's how they want to operate. But they don't want to work for the big organization and remain. They just want to deliver service of value. So if we're able to define a process and build trust between the big organization and the small organization, and define who owns the intellectual property at the end of the day, we might be able to open the door for more collaboration between the two of them. So for me, that is one area that we have to think through and define how they can work together and who owns the property. And there are different options. There are different solutions. You could say, hey, it belongs to both of you for a couple of years, after which it is open to the market, or the property belongs to party A, the big organization, from day one, and then the small organization gets compensated for the exercise, or the property belongs to the small organization, and the big organization have exclusivity for a couple of years. There are different ways, but it has to, the process has to be clear from day one before they can go into the relationship. You know,
understand. Very good point of the intellectual. Thank you so much.
Though, but
yeah, but it will facilitate. I see Francois raising the hand. Yes,
yeah,
Francois.
thank you, Mr. Ofili, for sharing that. I'm also interested in the patents as the unit of intellectual property in the economy, and how we can maybe either diffuse or spread benefits. Will you describe the process where they're sharing the patent for different times? I was also interested in my research in a company in Germany that was called Crowd Patent, that had developed a model where investors could actually invest in a patent and gain what they call the idea shares, so that you would be entitled to a portion of the royalties from that idea. So it kind of comes back to the discussion of, it's a way, if there was such a model, it could keep the intellectual property in the hands of small owners and still share the benefits of commercialization of that idea to those that are willing to either support the idea at an early phase and kind of crowdfund the idea to a point where they could apply for patents all around the world and stuff like that. So whether that model would be interesting for a small innovator working with a big company, or perhaps something like a marketplace hosted by the government, where innovators can collaborate with one another, investing in each other's ideas in that way, still spreading the economic incentives, but retaining the property right to the small owner. I think that's, I'd be very interested in reaching out and discussing this topic with you in the call in future.
Sure. Sure.
And this is beautiful.
Sure.
One of the positive things of this event is to be able to know each other and to connect. So thank you very much, Francois and Uche. It will be great if you can continue the collaboration, beyond the event in itself. I just want to remind you that our event will finish up in 5 minutes. So if you have questions, now is the time. So of course, for people who want to live and look a bit more, they are in Expo. There are some booths, but we will continue here the discussion in the next 5 minutes. So coming back, so the intellectual property, obviously, it's one of the factors that slow down the open innovation. We discuss also about the whole process, the infrastructure of the collaboration, the awareness of what is out there. So we try to identify, kind of root causes that maybe collectively we can work on those causes and try to find solutions. I think that we need also players that are more transversals. I think that in the last 10 years in Canada, we were able to grow our ecosystems, in different cities. We've done collectively very well, I think. But right now we are maybe at the right moment to start to work transversally, to work as a Canadian ecosystem and to understand how we can, have a Team Canada ecosystem playing. What are our objectives as Canadian? What are our strengths and maybe weakness, so we can collectively work on this weakness. Collectively, we can compete, globally as innovation and startup ecosystem. So, a final thoughts. What do you think in Canada we can do to become a better ecosystem, and how we can increase the level of innovation in Canada? I will maybe start with Ellen. Welcome back. And so what do you think we can do better in Canada to improve the innovation?
Well, first of all, we need to get a lot more companies involved into innovation. Most of the companies are trying to stay afloat, and right now it's even worse. And because right now they weren't prepared for this, some of them were able to adapt very quickly, but some of them will suffer for a long time because they're not able to adapt. That's the first. But most importantly, we're, as somebody else has said it during the earlier conference, we're 23rd in the world after Slovenia or something like that. And this is the nerve de la guerre, the war nerve. We're not there. And that's the whole reason why NSERC is investing into that. But we're not the only one. Everybody's talking about it, but it's not
what we are doing.
We're not doing it. And I've been doing it for 12 years, trying to connect, get the companies to innovate. Startups are really, really good into that. If they can survive the first year and keep on going, perfect. But we need more open innovation, more platform to get B2C or C2C anyway, companies to companies to work together and innovate, get researchers involved into this whole thing much more active like it is in Finland, Israel, like many other countries in the world, but we're not there. That's my thought.
Perfect. Eunice, what is your take? I understand that you are from Mexico. What you will see, from outside Canada, what do you think Canada can do better, and what you can do better in Mexico? It's a struggle that we all, share.
I think Ellen drafted it pretty well. I think bringing more companies to innovate is a big challenge. I don't think that monetary incentives will be the best policy response, because you are creating artificial incentives for them to innovate on things that maybe we don't need to be innovating. So I am thinking that from a government perspective, we should be very aware on which are the needs, which are the real needs for innovation. But the main problem is we don't know. That's the beauty of innovation. 50% of the innovation that is done fails, and that's the nature of innovation, and we should be confident and comfortable with it. And the other 50% is going to succeed. So as governments, we should find incentives, and we should find environments where failure, it is not a failure, but we have to normalize failure when we are talking in terms of innovation. And the policy challenge is how we are going to fund innovation with public funding without the political cost that it implies. How you say to taxpayers that 50% of the funding you gave away, it's not succeeding in the way we are used to understand success. So I think it's somewhere in there.
Very good point. So I think we should rebrand failure. Instead, we can say it's a learning success. So we learned a lot, and we can use that learning process to know how to do it better. But I think we I think we need to redefine the indicator, the KPIs for what means success, and bring also learning as being a very useful KPI. So I think Orly raising the hand. Please, Orly.
Hi, sorry, I have eyes problems. That's why I'm worrying. I want to stay here incognito. So, what I would like to mention here is I've been a member of the jury at the Startup Fest for a few years, and I've heard a lot of pitches from startups. And I will say, like every year, about 70% of them are similar. That means that there is no communication. As if you go, and we need for that to have how to say that to go and talk to the scientific people and get their best practices on how they communicate their innovation, so that we will say a new innovation, they can say right away that there is a new innovation. So there must be some best practices among them, and maybe we should borrow from them their best practices in order for the people who are thinking they are innovators is just because, because they are ignorant. That not ignorant, they are ignorant of the fact that someone else has already think of it and found the solution. So, but in the scientific world, it doesn't happen because they publish their works and everybody is sharing, and then people are building up on what the people have advanced. And that's my suggestion, instead of copying, like reinventing the wheel every time.
Very good point. So some, many times they go directly to see the customer needs. So they have similar findings, but they don't put maybe all the time required to understand what are, let's say, the other competitor. And it's very difficult to find the competitors that are like them, very early stage startups. But this is a very good point, how we can build up on solutions that are already there. So instead of repeating the same process, we can advance and absolutely go into science and understand how they collaborate and how they can build upon the findings of other teams. It make us better. So hopefully we can be better than the 22nd. We wish success to Slovenia. We are coming for the place. I will ask maybe Francois, how we can increase our innovation from the qualitative and quantitative in Canada. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, so what we're looking at in our project is different kinds of ways that the ISED can support collaboration. So we're looking specifically, and we mentioned earlier the topic of visibility of the field, seeing what's going on out there, and being able to connect different parts of the supply chain. So we're looking at specifically a government site that's called Explore IP, and that's specifically for patents related to government-owned patents. And it was requested by industry to attempt to give better visibility on what the government owns, what's available for licensing, and it is in collaboration. I'm sorry that Jean-François Conley is no longer in the call because he's working with Aligo, which is a partner of Explore IP. So the taking ideas that are funded by government and worked on with universities, the patents are posted on this website and open for licensing for private industry to go in. So the example that's always given is Teflon was developed for a space program, but has many, many applications for pots and pans for lining to give a non-stick aspect. So different kinds of, so that's kind of a procurement side way of driving innovation and then sharing the fruits of procurement that way. And we're wondering in discussion with ISED if it would be possible to include small businesses and the patents that they develop on a website like this that would be able to increase visibility and also spread knowledge of what the government is anticipating they will need in the future. So, and then connecting kind of supply chains that way. So yeah, that's one suggestion we're looking at amongst others for our project. But of course, very interested in hearing the group's thoughts on those issues, on that topic.
Absolutely. A very good point, Francois, because also you bring the discussion of the small and medium businesses. So we discussed about the corporates, larger organization, but it's a whole at Canada. I think 68% of Canada, they are small and medium organizations. They are struggling to innovate. They don't have the resources that the big organization they are having. So they are a bit lost in the process. So they have different challenges from the big organizations, but they are struggling as well. So as a final words, Uche, what do you think we can do better in Canada? It's how we can, do better innovation in Canada, qualitative and quantitative. What are your final thoughts? And I will go back to you, Erez, in a few seconds.
My final thought is to try and improve on the level of transparency between the research institutes, startups, and the big organization, and put in place things that can guarantee and because trust will build better collaboration, in my opinion, and it will enhance the of the bigger ecosystem. That's what I.
Perfect. So I take it the transparency. So yeah, and so thank you very much for the transparency. So maybe how we can also make more visible the efforts to partner and collaborate in open innovation, and maybe have more than one-to-one, but maybe one-to-many collaboration that right now we don't see it very much. So Erez, what are your final thoughts?
Well,
thank you.
As you talked a lot about the communication and develop the organization between themselves, like university and the different companies and so on. Actually, I have some thoughts on this. I created a Facebook group for Montreal, like the artificial intelligence events in Montreal, because I was missing out and I had a lot of fear of missing out the events happening in Montreal. So I created something like that. And at the same time, I'm writing my thesis in artificial intelligence impacts on online arbitration. So about the dispute resolution also, I find it very interesting. Thank you, Orly, for your mail, by the way, sending that. And what else I can say? Like, there are many things happening in Montreal at the moment. I think it will be more like active in near future, still very active. and I'm originally from Turkey, so I have relations there. I have some cousins living in Israel, so like I feel myself very international. I speak French, English, Turkish, so like, well, it's pretty accurate if someone want to reach out me, because there are in every country there are some trying to developing things about artificial intelligence. So yes, like, don't hesitate to reach me out, and if you are in Montreal, I can add you in the group too. Like, and it's interesting because, like, even if it's not today possible, in the near future, I think it will be more like released, and we will be able to make some other events by still keeping the distancing. I hope.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Erez. It was a pleasure to discuss with all of you. Thank you very much for your very interesting and very pertinent observation and comments. I'm looking forward for the next event, and we will stay connected, absolutely. So thank you very much for staying, almost 15 minutes after the final, end of the event. So wishing you a great day. It was absolutely delightful to have you all, and see you for the next event. So bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. So you have...
I got cut off.
Thank you. You did a great
So
job.
you did
Thank you all.
I would like to have Iris. I would like to know again your meetup group, because I need some artificial intelligence in the app on wellness that I am preparing. What is your meetup group name?
So Erez maybe will connect with Orly.
I can't hear you, Erez.
Erez, can you connect on LinkedIn with Orly, and maybe you can Orly Nachmias?
Okay, I will
so
write
you can
down my
send the
name,
link.
Yeah,
because
sure.
I have only my first name who is there, Orly.
We can see Nachmias.
Yeah, okay.
This is beautiful.
You can see it, because I've seen on my video, it's only Orly. So, okay, good.
Excellent. Bye-bye to everybody. Thank you very much for joining.
Is there a
Bye.
next step? I already got mixed up. Is it the conference is closed now?
No, it's closed, and you just need to do leave. So it's on the right top level. You have the button.
No more
leave.
thing on the stage. Okay.
No, we
Thank
finished.
you. It was a lovely ending for me. I was very happy to meet you all. Bye.
Bye, Orly. It was a pleasure.
Bye, everyone.